My history with the Sacred Heart and that devotion began probably as one of my earliest memories when I was a child growing up in Steubenville, Ohio. On the stairs leading up to our attic, to an upper bedroom, there was a photograph, a painting of the Sacred Heart, and I remember probably my earliest thought of Jesus was looking at that painting, and I was told who he was, and I had a younger brother, Kevin, and in looking at the painting of Jesus alone on the stairs, I thought as a boy, I wonder if my brother knows who he is. And so that kind of brought the reality of Jesus first to my mind. It's a great irony that years and years and years down the line, there was sort of a connection in that I was 9 years old. We moved from that home in Steubenville. And, of course, Emily Jaminet, Emily Wilson, who is promoting the Sacred Heart, and I met her way down the line, and realized she and another mom, Brooke, that I met, they were two of the girls, college girls, that moved into my house and had named it the Heart House after the Sacred Heart and Immaculate Heart of Mary. So I find it hugely significant that in that childhood home of mine, I had my first thoughts of Jesus and also sharing the love of Jesus with my brother. And then I would move away at 9 years old, become a priest, never know who had moved into my house, and years, decades down the line, meet the college girls, now moms, that had moved into the house and that they named it the Heart House after Sacred Heart. More had happened in the interim, too. My devotion to the Sacred Heart continued to deepen subtly. Before I became a priest, my college girlfriend, throughout basically all of college, went home to her family during Easter break in college, and they had enshrined the Sacred Heart in their home, and that was the first time I had ever seen that officially done. And so that important relationship, even though we didn't get married, still that she's one of the key friendships of my whole life, and that her family had done that to their home. After that relationship ended, after I graduated college, really I was discerning the priesthood, and I was doing so particularly living in Coronado, California, the island off of San Diego. The home parish I had there was Sacred Heart of Coronado, was going to daily mass, had great graces confirming in that church of Sacred Heart, great graces confirming my call to the priesthood, and especially to religious life and to the Dominicans. I remember the graces of realizing it's not just one day I was coming out of that church and getting onto a bicycle, and right as I was taking off, thinking just this huge shift in my mind that my vocation is not simply what will I give to the church, what will I do, the active side, but where will I go to receive formation, to learn. And that's a large reason why I joined the Dominicans, was because of that grace given at Sacred Heart Church, and many other graces of taking a role, becoming a lector for the first time at Mass. The graces of going to Eucharistic adoration there, the graces of Ash Wednesday and beginning Lent. This is the first Lent where I was really fully discerning the priesthood. So that parish and that devotion to the Sacred Heart deepened. I remember a moment, too, where a friend's grandmother died, and the grandfather left behind, the widower, had Alzheimer's, so it wasn't clear whether he was, how alert he was to the fact of his wife dying or not. And I remember he came out of Sacred Heart Church, and the priest was wearing white, kind of the color of the resurrection. And finally he had a lucid moment, the widower, and he just threw his arms around the priest and wept. And that to me was another confirmation at Sacred Heart of the role of the priesthood, where he's holding this older man in his grief and just thinking how much he represents the Sacred Heart of Jesus as a priest. In addition, I moved on to the Dominicans, and as I was doing formation and graduate studies, and we get placed at a parish to sort of do your ministry and then to become a deacon and to serve the people, and my placement was the Shrine of the Sacred Heart in Washington, D.C., which is bilingual, English and Spanish. And I was, for 2 years, wrapped up in that place, and I would say it was definitely those were the sort of golden years. I mean, it was one of the most powerful, amazing, transformative experiences of my entire life was to be a part of that community. I mean, my first sort of attempt at really teaching and preaching and doing catechesis for parents, and being a teacher's aide in first and second grade classrooms, and all of the crazy, amazing chaos and questions and all the philosophy of little kids. All of that happened in the ambit, or my first homily as a deacon, singing the Exultet as a deacon, in Spanish on a classical guitar, and having the people respond and lift up their candles, and doing baptisms. I mean, all of that happened at Sacred Heart. My first homily, my first baptisms, my first masses as a priest happened there. And the people at Sacred Heart especially taught me that the church is a family. It was full of love, just like the Sacred Heart of Jesus. It's not simply traditions, not simply liturgy, but we are brothers and sisters, and to take that very seriously. And it was overwhelming. And so I trace the devotion of the Sacred Heart in my life, which is one of my top devotions. I mean, it's to Jesus himself and his Sacred Heart, but it comes from the early childhood memory in the stairwell. It goes to my time discerning and dating and going to that home and discerning the vocation of marriage. It goes to the parish where I was discerning priesthood in California. It goes to the parish I was formed in right before and actually into my priesthood, the first days of my priesthood. And then it continues now, even in my ministry, loving the Sacred Heart of Jesus, but meeting, the girls who had moved into my childhood home and realizing they're devoted to the Sacred Heart, and they had named my childhood home after it. I just go from Steubenville to Frederick, Maryland, to San Diego, California, to Washington, D.C., to northern Vermont. And the Sacred Heart keeps following me and reminding me. I mean, I forgot to mention, too, just one last thing, is that probably when I was joining the Dominicans in Cincinnati, Ohio, at St. Gertrude's, that was the year where I was on the fence. I was 50% sure I wanted to be a Dominican, 100% sure I was called to be a priest, but I wasn't sure the Dominican mold would exactly fit, that charism. And that's kind of this great tag as well to add in, is that year at St. Gertrude's, especially the Triduum of Easter, especially the day-to-day liturgy, day-to-day life, confirmed my Dominican vocation. My vocation was strongly confirmed in the course of just the first year. And I discovered that even long before St. Margaret Mary Alacoque and promoting the Sacred Heart, St. Gertrude herself, Benedictine sister, was sort of getting these revelations as well. So there was a Sacred Heart connection to that parish. And then I've discovered through further reading that St. Gertrude, St. Mechtild of Magdeburg, they were in the same Benedictine monastery. They all had, even though they're Benedictine sisters, things were very mixed. They all had Dominican spiritual directors and priests at that monastery in Helfta. So it's just, I think every chapter of my life, the Sacred Heart of Jesus has made himself present. And I'm amazed by that and thankful and joyful. There's great joy in his heart, and that joy is shared with not only me, but every brother and sister in the church. That's the sort of main lesson is that we are joyful because Christ is here. He makes us brothers and sisters, and he has done so, and he will keep doing so. I stand in joyful amazement at the Sacred Heart, and the Sacred Heart in my life and in the life of the church. Everywhere you go, every people you meet,